Good evening. Hello. I'm just waiting for people to log on. It's Instagram. Hope you're doing well. Let's see who we've got coming into the chat room right now. Good evening to you all. If you're watching this right now live, or if you're watching this on Instagram, or if you're watching this on Facebook or YouTube after, good evening to you. I'm Adam Smith. Welcome along. Hope you've had a great 2 days of the week so far, being able to, sit in a beer garden, go shopping, get all the stuff you need to do. Hi, Abby. Thank you for joining us tonight. We're going to be putting your questions to Britain's Got Talent winner, Jon Courtenay, who is ready right now. So let's get him in. Here he is. I'm sure he's been a very busy man, but he's found room for us tonight. Thank you for tuning in. Oh, hello, Jon.
Hello, Adam. How are you, mate?
I'm very well, mate. How are you keeping? You well?
I'm good. Has this just cut the top of my head off?
It has, yeah. He did it the same with me as well. Don't worry about it. Should we just adjust?
There
we
you go.
good?
Is that better? I mean,
there you go.
You don't want to miss that, do you?
I know. I can see you've been to the hairdressers this week. How's it going?
I actually trimmed my beard especially for you. I was looking a bit homeless. So.
Oh, bless you. Well, it's really good to chat to you tonight, buddy. How have you been keeping?
Do you know what? I'm so glad you started this at 7 o'clock because that's my. It's easy. It's easy in lockdown to start drinking earlier and earlier.
Yeah.
So I said 7 o'clock is a good time to let myself have a glass of wine. So good timing. That's all I can say.
So you're there. I'm being sensible. I'm on the water. So.
Oh, well, you see, you're very professional. I'm a complete amateur.
But then again, I'm not Britain's Got Talent winner, Jon Courtenay. We've had so many questions come in for you tonight. I mean, to say that alone, Jon Courtenay, your name, which you've used for many, many years, Britain's Got Talent winner. That must be such a great feeling.
Do you know what? I think I've been so detached because of lockdown and everything else. I mean, people keep asking me, what's it like winning Britain's Got Talent during lockdown? And my reply is always the same. I don't know what it's like winning Britain's Got Talent out of lockdown.
Yeah.
I know people that have. I'm friends with Paul Zerdin, who won America's Got Talent and stuff like that. We've been in contact a lot. So I know that I've missed out on the live shows and meeting people face to face and doing all that autographs. So it's a bit weird because life hasn't really changed that much. I've been busy, but all here in my studio, So yeah, very much looking forward. It did dawn on me not that long ago that my first live performance in front of a live audience, because obviously all the studio stuff was virtual. The audition was back in like January 2020, so that was but my next live theatre performance in front of a live audience is the Blackpool Opera House on the 10th of June.
And that's exactly where you did the Royal Variety, wasn't it?
That was, but again, Royal Variety was with television screens. There was no live audience. So, I mean, I don't know about you, but if I have 2 weeks off stage, I feel a little bit rusty. Like I need to sort of, get back into it. So yeah, we're going to have a week of very intense rehearsals in a rehearsal space, just running the show to try and. I mean, you know what? It's like riding a bike. You know what it's like. If you're a performer, it's in your blood. I'm sure I'll just get out there and it'll be fine. Yeah. But yeah, people keep reminding me, oh, Blackpool Opera House will be your first time. I went, yeah. Maybe I should have started with something smaller, like a little comedy club or something.
Yeah. Well, you've done those obviously all your career to build up to where you were, but I mean, it's not a shoddy venue to start off at, is it?
It's not too shoddy, no. And the fact that I was last there for the Royal Variety with that lineup, it is weird. I mean, yeah, your initial question about my name and Britain's Got Talent, it's all very, very strange. But it's all good strange. It's great.
And obviously in your initial audition when you did Britain's Got Talent, you spoke a lot about the Palladium, how it meant to you when you were growing up and watching Sunday Night at the Palladium, etc. So you got to audition there and you also got the golden buzzer on one of the most iconic stages. So, I mean, that's a high.
Yeah, it was amazing, but I've said it so many times. It was such an out of body experience. That's the only way I can describe. And even now, watching the clips back, I mean, my kids still watch them. My son actually put the audio on in the car the other day. We were driving home from somewhere, and he started playing my audition on YouTube, but the audio came through the car, and he knows every single breath and syllable. I mean, God knows how many times this is the 15-year-old, just 16. You might be, oh, I've just lowered my chair. Hang on. I hit my button, but that was funny.
It's okay. I did an interview with Christopher Biggins last week, and his telly kept coming on.
I saw it. Yeah, it was funny. So, but if I catch a glimpse of it, it's very much like watching. I mean, I know it's me. I recognise it's me, but at the time, it was very much a blur, and you don't sort of really realise what's going on. I mean, I will certainly chalk it up to one of the highlights of my career. Obviously, incredible.
Definitely. And I think one thing that you've got over every other Britain's Got Talent winner, and I don't know if you realise this, you are the longest reigning winner of BGT, because there's no BGT this year. So technically, you are the BGT winner for 2 years. So does that mean you get to do the Royal Variety this year as well?
That'd be nice, wouldn't it? The longest reigning champion. Yeah, I think we might try and sneak that onto the tour posters somewhere. Britain's longest reigning champion. It was a bit of a shame. It was a bit of a double-edged sword. Is that the word? Because I was going to be involved with it this year. I'd written something for it for one of the. I can't say too much because we're still hoping to do it next year.
Yeah.
But they did approach me and say, would you be prepared to do this, or write a song for this? And I said, absolutely, of course I will. Yeah, and that was months ago. But I spent a lot of time writing the song and speaking with the producers and coming up with this idea that we were going to have for the, the opening of I can tell you a bit, the opening of the shows. They have a little montage of something silly.
I'm there every year, mate. I'm always in the audience. I know exactly what you're on about.
So you know what I'm talking about, yeah. So they approached me about doing one of those and being involved in one of those. So I came up with this lovely idea. So I'm very much hoping that, they've told me that we'll still be able to do it in 2022. So that was a bit disappointing. But then I think it was my wife, the first person who said, you're going to be Britain's longest reigning champion. I immediately called my manager and said, this is something we need to play on. Yeah. Nothing that I've achieved myself. They just cancelled it. So yes, I am the longest reigning champion. Hey ho.
And I think you're definitely worthy of it, my friend. Don't worry about it. I mean, the first Golden Buzzer winner as well.
Yeah, you saw my face on the finals when they told me that. I didn't even realise when I think Amanda or somebody said it, not just the winner, but the first Golden Buzzer. And then Ant and Deck started having kittens, and it was funny because I just did a Saturday Night Takeaway with them, and
we saw it. Amazing.
We got to sort of catch up again. And originally I was going to be part of their bubble. I was going to do all the COVID tests and everything, so that I could actually, because they were going to be doing. We were going to do. There was so many rewrites. You can imagine how much editing there was on that song. They were going to be playing the piano with me. We were going to be doing this duet thing, which would have been great fun. But then it all got changed, as it does, whatever. So when I actually got to see them, I said, I was so looking forward to actually getting to hug you at last, because we hugged at the audition when they gave me the Golden Buzzer. That was January. And of course, ever since then, the semi-finals, the finals, winning it, the takeaway, the BGT Christmas show, we've had to keep this distance. And, you know what it's like. We're lovies. We all want to give each other a big hug and kiss. Yeah.
And they must be so proud as well, because they're just nice blokes.
They are absolutely lovely. And my wife actually just had some pictures printed that we just saw today from Takeaway. And Deck's got this weird thing. Whenever he's looking at me, he looks so proud. He's just got this little look on his face. He's like, yeah, it's just the sweetest thing. So they are the loveliest people. Yeah, I mean, I wish I could tell you some scandal and gossip, but they're just sweethearts. So
yeah, I know. I guess as well, I suppose for Ant and Deck, they've always had this battle with Simon Cowell. Simon always thinks he's the greatest, he's the best, and then obviously the first Golden Buzzer, Ant and Deck's Golden Buzzer that wins. And
yeah, it's a shame he wasn't there to get his reaction firsthand.
Oh, I know.
We'll see him next year.
But yeah, you talked about Saturday Night Takeaway. I mean, when you got that call to do that, the biggest Saturday night entertainment show, which everybody was needing this year more so than ever before, to be a part of the big finale.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was fun. They called me. I've never been a part of something apart from BGT. Obviously, this is all quite new to me. And they called me and said, we'd like you to be not just the end of the show, but the end of the series show. And we'd like you to write a song about everything that's happened in the last 7 weeks. And this was before the first week had been broadcast. This was like a week before the first week was broadcast. Yeah. And I went, oh, amazing. Yes. So I sat down when it was the first week with pen and notepad and started making notes, and then I wrote a couple of verses to introduce the song. And then after the first week, I wrote the first verse. Then I watched the second week and I wrote the second verse. And the third verse, and then and I'm frantically, and I came up with this idea of doing it to Gilbert and Sullivan's Modern Major General, so like a parody. I am the very model of a modern Major General. Yeah. So Saturday Night Takeaway, well, da 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 da. It was all that stuff. And the whole gimmick of the song was that it would be crazy fast with loads of words, and it would be fun, and Ant and Deck would. But of course, I'm not a TV producer or director or cameraman. And the logistics of trying to film around what I keep hitting the button on my seat. The logistics of trying to film around what I'd originally written was a nightmare, because they had to film the studio and they wanted to get all the clips in it. So there was a lot of back and forth with their writers, with producers and stuff, which I was, I'm not precious. I mean, it's so much fun to collaborate with people who are at the best of what they do. I've never really had the chance to do that. You know, I've been a one-man band my whole career, really. So collaborating with these incredible people. And I think that they sort of started off sort of treading lightly around me in case I was that guy that was like, this is what I've written, and was a bit of an arse about it, you know. But I absolutely loved it. And what was finally filmed and broadcast was probably 50% my writing and 50% producers and script writers. And that's fine. It was a fun song. My wife called me afterwards and said, you weren't on screen enough. And I said, it's not Jon Courtenay Saturday Takeaway. It's you know, it was never going to be all about
maybe in
me.
the future.
Yes, it will be. Well, I did have a joke with that in depth, because when we were talking, even during rehearsals, we were rewriting. We were coming up with ideas, and Deck would say, John, can you take that line and I'll do this line? And I was like, yeah, and you go there. And they have a lot of creative input, obviously, you know. And then they said, I forget what. Oh yeah, it was April Fools, and they did that whole thing about being called Deck and Ant.
Yeah.
And it was that whole thing. And in the middle of this creative meeting about rewriting it, I said, I think I've contributed enough that if you're going to change your name, it's Deck, Ant, and John. So if we can just start working on that little threesome now, that'll be. And they seemed up for the idea, you know.
Whatever came out of the TV was amazing anyway. So
it was so much fun to do. So much fun to do it.
It looked amazing. And I think it's very hard when you're doing performing to make it look so effortless, but as well as you know the rehearsal and the effort's gone into it. Because a lot of people, when they do performance, especially musicals, music-wise, they've done it so much, they've rehearsed it and performed it so much. So it's hard to bring a different thing every time. But when you perform it with the passion and you just still enjoy it and it's like a hobby, I guess to you, it's not like a paid job, is it? It's just like doing something you enjoy.
Oh yeah, it always has been. I mean, I've always said, you know, the day that I get bored, even when I was sort of doing the gigs that, I mean, I was quite lucky the last few years. I've been doing nice gigs. You know, I have, even before BGC, I was doing some nice cruises and some nice hotels and nice corporate things. It had been a while since I'd got changed in a toilet, you know, which is what we've all sort of done at one point or another. But yeah, I've always loved it. I mean, no matter how sort of, even the worst gigs, I've always said my worst day is somebody else's best day. You know, if I've got some lost luggage or a delayed flight or a tough crowd at some posh hotel, that's not a bad day. You know, you've got to put it into perspective.
Yeah.
But then going on to something like Takeaway with live TV, it's another thing again. I mean, I get comfortable doing what I'm doing night after night. My one-man show, my songs, my spiel, whatever you're doing. All of a sudden, you know, there's this huge production which none of us have performed live at all anywhere. That's a whole new thing. And credit to the boys and their whole team. I mean, to see behind the scenes, they do that week in, week out. You know, I mean, the week leading up to each production, the senior producer was telling me, he said, we have trouble focusing, because I was asking all these questions for the final show, weeks before the final show. Can you tell me this? Can you tell me this? How can we film this? And obviously their whole brain is 1 week show, 1 week show. So everything we did was pretty much, most of it was done in the last couple of days. I mean, it was, you know, the filming. And also, I imagined a lot of it would be pre-recorded, because in that show they do a lot of the, you know, some of it's pre-recorded when the live thing disappears in the corner. And it was such a massive production. I thought, obviously, like the corridors, anything that's not in the studio, they'll pre-record it. And Ant and Deck were like, no, we don't like doing the pre-record, because you know what it's like. If you haven't got, it's tough not even having a live audience. That's hard enough to sort of get that energy. But to then just have the virtual screen, which is live and they can see you, that gives you a little bit of a buzz. Yeah. The pre-record, you lose something. You lose a little bit of energy, a little bit of spark, whatever it is. You know, you can't always tell what it is, but and I totally got that as a live performer. So it was manic. I mean, we did pre-record the outside broadcast bit because that was just too much going on. But all that corridor stuff, I mean, I was desperate in rehearsal. I really wanted to film what we were doing, because I finished one line on the piano, and as soon as the camera moved off me, I had to jump up, run across the studio, up some steps, down some steps, dodge some dancers, jump over a lighting guy, down a corridor. And as I'm running down the corridor, Ant and Decker behind me being filmed on a Steadicam singing the song. And then I jump on that piano in the corridor as the camera sweeps around, and I go, Mo Farah's in a bath. And I'm out of breath.
I was going to say,
And then I've got to run back to the studio for when they come back in the other door. And it was literally, it was live. And it was, I've never, you know, the fact that they do that every week and it looks so rehearsed and so polished
as well,
and I mean, you read any of the critics and you just, you know, which everybody's going to get whatever, and you just think you don't get it. I mean, I wish they could see behind the scenes more and see the dedication of the whole team. There was a lovely, because it was the last show, there was a lovely speech at the end from the director and the producer and Ant and Dec as well, and all the cast and the team are stood there. And you realise that it's such a team effort. I mean, yes, obviously it's Ant and Dec's name on the show.
Yeah.
And a lot of the team were from BGT, which was lovely. Alan, the floor manager, was BGT floor manager.
Alan.
You know, Alan, yeah. It was great. It was lovely to see some familiar faces, and great experience. Really great experience.
It was
but very different to anything I've ever been involved in before, which is exciting, you know.
Brilliant Saturday night TV. I don't know if you're aware, but if you keep seeing the little notifications on the bottom, you've got a right family affair going on down there. You've got
I saw
grandma,
my mum jumped on.
Yeah, you've got mum in there, you've got wife in there, you've got
and
son
they're all
in there.
chatting to each other, which is hilarious. Look at this.
Hello to you all.
Hi, family. Yeah,
they must be so proud.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm very lucky. I've got a very close family. Both my direct family and my in-laws, which is great because I'm a Southerner by birth, and I now live near Manchester. And my wife's got a big family, lots of siblings and nieces and nephews and stuff. And they're all Northerners, say it as it is, you know, which is great. So even when all this has happened, talk about keeping your feet firmly on the ground, you know, it's brilliant. But yeah, they're all, the support's been fantastic. Now they're all chatting to you. My mum says, hello, Adam. Look, can you all just stop? Can you not write something constructive instead of, if you want to speak to each other, pick the phone up.
Follow me. We'll have a chat.
This is a professional live broadcast.
Carolyn will find out the real goss on Jon on another interview another week.
She can probably tell you some embarrassing stories. Yeah.
I can imagine. I mean, to have that family, especially like your son, you talk about your son just turning 16. I mean, I've got an 11-year-old and she's at that stage now where, I've got an embarrassing dad, you know, you can't sing along to a song in the supermarket or whatever. So to have 16, I'm just so proud of your dad and not being, and like you were saying earlier, to have the song playing in the car, etc., etc. You know, it's just, it must be just so heartwarming.
I mean, I still embarrass him, obviously. I mean, he's 16.
Oh, it's our duty, Jon. It's our duty.
Of course it is. Of course it is. My youngest is my youngest is 9, and they're both proud. But I'll still come up with a dad joke, and all I get is a blank expression. If I'm lucky, I get a wow.
Or a lift up from the phone.
Wow. Yeah, or a lift up from the phone, or if he's even out of bed.
Yeah.
Nathan, do you want to stay on here while we're talking about you? This is funny.
Yeah. There we go.
Or my wife says, sorry, Adam. My wife said Adam's very cute. That's my wife.
Thank you, Emma.
Yes, I think he's had a haircut. Oh, everybody's jumping on now. Too young for you. Do you know what? It's going to be more fun.
Jon, I think you're punching Jon there. I've just seen a picture.
Oh, have you? Yes, I am definitely punching. Yeah.
I'm kidding. I'm so sure. You're such a lovely bloke. And everybody who I've spoken to prior to this, we've got a mutual friend, Adam Lacey, who's one of the executive producers of Joseph that we've been doing. He's like, he's such a good guy. He's such a good guy. And, you know, I've known Adam for many, many years. Right. Anyway, people have been sending in their questions.
Right. I better drink more wine before we do
this. Yeah, have a go. Well, there's plenty in here. Don't worry. Nothing too prying, I hope.
It's all right. You can ask me anything. It's all right. I've got no secrets.
Okay. Donna Marie Silver, thank you very much for your question. I'm so happy that you have Jon Courtenay on live. This is my question of him. What or who inspired you to start writing and performing songs? And the same question came from Connor Blowers and Linda Henderson as well. So what was your inspiration?
Wow, what, to start writing songs at all?
To be you, to start writing and performing.
Blimey. I mean, going back years and years, I suppose. I grew up with this. I grew up knowing I wanted to do this, which is sort of not a bone of contention at the minute, but it's interesting having a 16-year-old who, like most 16-year-olds, is not too sure what he wants to do. And apparently that's normal, but I haven't got any siblings, so I only know what I went through. So from a very young age, I grew up watching my mum and dad, who were in the business. And although they weren't songwriters, they were performers, and they performed songs, funny songs and whatever songs. So music was always a part of my life, but it was never, I started off as a comedy magician. I started off doing comedy magic for years.
Wow.
When I started working professionally. The piano and music wasn't even part of my show. It was just something that I did as a hobby. And we had a piano in the house, so I'd sit and play. And then when I did start doing music, it wasn't my music. I put a couple of songs in the show. I'd do this weird sort of comedy magic act and then jump on the piano and show off some piano skills.
Yeah.
And I guess the show just evolved. There was no conscious decision to become something else. I just started coming up with ideas it was always comedy. It's always about laughter for me. It's always about making people laugh. And then it just turns out BGT was really a turning point for me in a lot of ways, because the songs that I wrote for that were unlike almost anything that I'd written before. I mean, this whole thing, it makes me laugh now, and people saying, "Oh, you made me cry so much."
Yeah.
And I was starting to get worried. I'm like, but I want to make people laugh, you know. But that laughter and comedy thing is what I call the Les Mis principle, which I've always, you look at Les Mis, it's such a dark, serious, emotional show. And then in the middle of it, you've got Master of the House, which in itself is not the most hilarious song in the world. But because you're so emotional and you're so caught up, that moment of fun and frivolity is almost a relief. And it makes you laugh more than you would if you hadn't have been. So I've always enjoyed that. It's sort of emotional juxtaposition, if you like, to sound really arsey, but to sort of, you know, to lead people along emotionally. And then so laughter and sadness are so close, but I really channeled that for BGT, and I hadn't really done that in my show. I mean, I used to do Mr. Bojangles in my show, and I'd tie that into a story about my granddad, which was sort of a moment of sort of, even that had a few gags in it as well. But then I did Mr. Bojangles straight as a tribute to Sammy and to my granddad. So that was a little emotional thing. But really, the stuff I wrote for BGT was quite unique to anything I'd written before. It was really a blank sheet of paper and thinking, what do I want to write about and why do I want to write it? As opposed to just saying, I want to write something to go in my show. Or something, or you know, my son had said something funny, so I wrote a little ditty about it. You know, it was really bigger than that. It was like the audition song was about auditioning and why am I doing this, and the Palladium and my kids and my family, and I channeled all that. So I don't know who this is going to go on forever if all these answers are this long, isn't it? But okay. So I don't know if there's any one person that's inspired me to write music. I mean, obviously I grew up watching Victoria Wood. I mean, today it's Tim. I love Tim Minchin. I love his stuff.
He's genius.
I think he's incredible. And musical theatre. I always loved musical theatre. I remember when I used to work in Covent Garden, I used to juggle a bit in Covent Garden when I was like 16, 17. And my friend was in Miss Saigon at the time. So I got to go and see that a lot. And that was the first show I ever saw. And then it was Les Mis. And then obviously over the years got to see a bunch of other stuff. So trying to capture something, as I say, the Les Mis principle, trying to capture something from musical theatre in a one-man show and try and make it emotional. I think if you've got an audience in front of you for an hour or an hour and a half, however long it is, you know, it's a huge opportunity. If you're using music and comedy, and it's an opportunity to really make people feel something. So I think certainly my tour show is really going down that route. I don't want people leaving the theatre crying. I want them leaving the theatre feeling really good and happy and uplifted and inspired. And I think there's a lot of tools that you can use to do that. So, but yes, there isn't a simple answer to that question.
We don't want simple. It'll be a really short interview if we just have short answers.
Yeah, but this is going to go until midnight.
It's fine. I've got no else to do. Your wife's commented, I think your songwriting was just for me, and then your mum's gone, you write every Christmas. So there you go. But like I said,
that is true. Yeah, I used to write. Yeah, every Christmas I wrote a song for Emma. Yeah, that was true. Those are the things that I never performed live, but she got.
You little romantic, you.
Yeah, well, you got to do what you got to do, haven't you? I mean, you know.
Well, yeah. I mean, I remember looking at your first audition. I remember it airing on telly, and I was sat with my missus at the time, and we were watching it. And I was like, and you took us on an emotional roller coaster of a journey. And I remember just saying at the end, I went, "This guy should write for Disney." Because it was literally like, wow, and then dropped. And it was the same with the live show. Well, obviously the semi shows and the final as well. Because obviously you clicked onto the Tom Moore thing, which everyone just grasped, and what we were going through. You captured the nation, but then you brought it up, but you reminded us. But then you thought, there's better days ahead. It was an emotional roller coaster. Stick that on your posters as well.
Yeah, it was a tough thing to write because the producers were quite. I mean, it's such a delicate thing to write about. So many people had been suffering unimaginably. People had literally lost loved ones and stuff. And when I said, the funny guy with a piano wants to write a song about a pandemic, and there was a lot of. Normally, I can write quite quickly once I've got the idea, and that was a lot of rewrites, and I didn't want anybody to think that I was making light of the situation, but at the same time, I didn't want to get too deep in it and say this is terrible. So it had to be a positive. This this too shall pass kind of thing. So, but it was a hard one to write. Yeah.
It worked. Moving on to the next question. Selling Macbeth. Hi there, John. Huge congratulations on winning Britain's Got Talent. You were amazing. How did that moment feel when you were announced as winner? So you stood there on stage, Anton Deck at one side, the other, the runner up at the other side. How did you feel at that moment when your name was said?
Yeah.
Do you remember? So way back.
Yeah, I don't know. Overwhelmed, obviously. It was, and then Amanda said after, she said, I hate to use the word journey, but if you ever can use the word journey, it was in that regard, because I actually posted a thing the other day on Insta, on Facebook, on YouTube, about when I was on a ship, running my audition song, letting people hear it for the first time and me practicing it to see if it worked, kind of thing. Yeah. It was only one time that I did it. And before I play it, I'm explaining to the audience what I'm about to do. And I said, obviously, I'm not expecting to win it. I said, I'm just hoping that it will get me some exposure and maybe I'll get more work in England so I haven't got to be away so much from my family. And then I made a joke about somebody in the front row having a golden buzzer. I said, wouldn't that make life easier? And it was weird. I literally found it on my hard drive and I was like, oh, I have to post this. It's brilliant. I never went into it expecting to win it. I just didn't. I mean, it was the fact that I was writing and performing original songs that I'd never really had a chance to perform before, made me very insecure. And I was just hoping that I wouldn't get buzzed off and that people would relate to what I was writing about. And it's not like I was going on there and doing a show that I'd been doing for 30 years or doing jokes that I'd been doing for however long, I think before the final, there was a lot of interviews, people saying, what do you think your chances are? And me going like, you know what, I'm in the final. I mean, that's, I had a tour planned. Even if I hadn't won, the tour was sort of planned. So the fact that I was going to tour the UK with my own show, that was mind blowing. I mean, I'd made it. I mean, I'd made it to the final. So that's really where my head was. So it was very overwhelming and quite unbelievable. Yeah, still is, to be honest.
I know, it's brilliant. Jess Blight next. My question for John: what was your favourite moment? Oh, I know, it's brilliant, isn't it? It's a stage name and half that, isn't
Blight neck. I love
it. John, what was your favourite moment on BGT? Obviously, besides winning, if there had to be a moment.
Probably the audition. Being at the Palladium. It was. I had the whole family with me. Obviously, it was a long day. I mean, a lot of people don't realise what the whole process entails. The fact that I was the last act on for the evening, because they have an afternoon show and an evening show. And I was the last act on in the evening show. So we got there at like 9:30 in the morning from our hotel. And then they do all the stuff backstage. You do your interviews and you do your digital stuff, your Instagram and your YouTube, that they have, rooms set up for that, which was great because I basically got a tour of the theatre. They did stuff under the stage. We did some filming under the stage.
Wow.
Bruce Forsyth is interred. Is that the word? Interred down there with his interred. Yeah. His ashes are in the wall under the stage.
Never knew that. That's fascinating.
So it was amazing to be down there under the Palladium stage, and see the old. There's stuff down there from the Victorian days, incredible. So that was cool. The whole day was amazing, and luckily, because we had the kids with us. About halfway through the day, they said, you're not going to be on to the evening show. It's going to be another 7 or 8 hours or something. And you're in this little holding room with uncomfortable chairs, what you see on TV with the flight cases and the Union Jacks and the lights.
It's all staged. It's not real.
It's real in as much as the interviews are real. There's no scripts or anything, but it is. It may look like you're actually backstage, but you're actually in a holding room in a hotel. So that's the way it's set up. So I went to the hotel reception, and this is the hotel that's right next to the Palladium, and it's called the Courtyard. And I said, is there any chance that you've got a room? And bearing in mind, I've been working for 25 years, but we've never really had a disposable income. I mean, it's 2 kids. My wife's been at home looking after the kids because I've been away, so we've never really had any money. And they said, yes, we've only got a suite left, and it's £500 a night or something like that. And I said, well, how often are we going to be in London at the Palladium? So literally I gave my credit card and went, we'll deal with that later. So we got a room at the hotel, which was amazing. Thank God we did, because it wasn't, after the buzzer and the interviews and the backstage stuff and the stuff they film afterwards, with that and Derek, We didn't get back to the hotel room till well after midnight, and the boys were just passed out, and I'm ordering champagne on room service.
Throw it on the credit card. I don't care.
So that was, going back to an earlier question, how did it feel when I won? I thought, well, at least I can pay for the hotel and the champagne.
Yes.
From my audition, because up till then we were skint as anything.
Not anymore, my friend.
Yeah.
Right. On to your next question now. Helen Ray. Hi there, Jon. Hope you are well. Out of all the places you have worked in the world, and obviously you've travelled the world a lot, where have you been that's your favourite place and why? Thank you. That's from Helen Ray. Thanks for your question, Helen.
Thanks, Helen. Favourite place and why? Blimey. Well, it used to be a really cheesy answer. When I was travelling a lot, I used to say my favourite place is home, which is probably still true to an extent, although I've been here for over a year now. I'd quite like to go away.
Won't we all? Have you got any flights booked in like the hope for the 17th of May? You just like,
well, if somebody wins some money, you know what they have to do? They have to take the whole family to Disney. So we've booked that for November. So we're taking, we're taking nieces and nephews and aunts and stuff to Disney in November. So well, we did it a few years ago, but it was in the middle of the summer. It was too hot. So
it's not any cooler in November. You know that, right? It's still equally as warm.
Not as bad. We went in May last time, and it was proper. It was too, the kids just wanted to stay in the villa and swim in the pool. Not even. I was like, we've bought tickets to Disney. We're going to Disney.
You don't realise how expensive it is.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy expensive. So yeah, I used to stay at home, but having travelled the world, I do love the Med. I mean, I do love Italy and Spain. Our dream for a long time was to try and find a little property in Spain somewhere and have a little holiday home. I just love, the cafe society in the Med, and we've had holidays in Croatia, and that's a beautiful part of the world. But then at the same time, I love the Far East. I love the food and the people of Thailand and Vietnam. I just love traveling. I think I'm a gypsy, I don't think that ever leaves you. And I think I've been so lucky to be able to work my way around the world. I never had to backpack, which is, I don't mind camping and living a bit rough, but my wife would never want to go camping, not even glamping. She wants hotels and room service. So yeah, I just love traveling. I love experiencing. But saying that, I'd say I've been at home now for 17, 18 months, and I'm still not bored with it. I mean, I've been traveling for 20 years, pretty much non-stop. I've never had more than 2 weeks at home in 20 years. Normally just a week or a few days. So to have this time at home, and the fact that me and my wife are still together and we haven't killed each other, speaks volumes. We're okay. Yeah, it's amazing.
They always used to say if a relationship can survive building IKEA flat pack furniture, and now if it can survive a lockdown, it's meant to be.
It always survived IKEA. My wife would just leave the room and I'd do it. I'm not bad at IKEA. It's like
that's all right then.
It's relationships when you're under each other's feet for a year that might be a problem. But we're okay. Yeah.
But I assume you've been keeping quite busy in your studio, doing a lot of interviews, a lot of online stuff, a lot of preparing for the tour, which we'll talk about later on. Sure. I can imagine you've not been quiet.
No, it's been great. I mean, it was very strange looking back on it now. When lockdown just started, I had a digital piano that was sort of in the corner of our lounge, and we had an integrated garage in our house. Yeah. And it was full of rubbish, shelving and just full of, like everybody's garage, full of crap. And I started. It was really soon into lockdown that we sort of moved. I moved the piano to one end of the lounge and set, because I had all the gear. I had camera gear, and I've always been into photography and stuff, and all that business. And so I had all the gear. So I set up this little mock studio and got into Zoom, like most people did, sort of quite quickly, and started using it. And then I said to him, when we first moved into this house, I said, "Oh, we're going to convert the garage. We'll turn it into a spare bedroom or a studio or something." Yeah. And we started work on that quite soon into lockdown with money that we didn't have really to sort of just, and thank God we did. I mean, and also thank God I won, because it meant that we could still live here and not have to move to a cardboard box. So I'm very lucky now. I've got this quite amazing little studio that locks from the inside. So
that's good.
It's not unheard of for me to have a show and come and lock the door. Oh, I hope my wife's not still watching.
She still definitely is, mate. So yeah, I think you're in there for the night, pal.
There's a spare bed and everything. I'm sorry.
Oh, perfect.
It's all right. Yeah, it's all
there
good.
You go. And you've got wine. getting
And
the bottle before.
I've got a whole wine rack in the corner. It's great.
Have you actually?
I
That's
actually
genius.
have. Yeah. I'll give you a tour of the studio later if you like. Yeah.
Awesome. I look forward to it. Right. Let's go through these questions. That was for Helen. Samantha Wilkinson, obviously talking of your tour. I see you'll be doing a tour. I can't wait to come and see you live. Can you tell us about it? We are so excited. Now, you are traveling the nation with your tour. Teasers.
Yeah, well, I was sort of resting on my laurels for a long time, a few months back, thinking I've been doing this for 30 years. You know, I've been on stage. You've been watching all these talent shows for as long as I have. Well, probably not as long as I have. You're younger than me. But there are people that have come through it that are not professionals. And then they've suddenly been thrown into the lion's den and they're expected to tour and do performances. And to go from doing a 5-minute spot to doing 2 full acts in a theatre and holding an audience, it's a lot to ask, you know. So I wasn't worried about that because I've done that my whole life. So I was sort of thinking, the tour's going to be great. And then, not long before I'd won it, when we were talking about the tour, you know, when I'd made it to the finals and I was chatting to my management and a tour company and stuff, and it occurred to me that my theatre show is actually going to be 80-90% a new show from anything I've done before. Obviously, all the BGT stuff. There's some stories about BGT, some stories about whatever. So I really had to knuckle down, and I'm still writing it now. I sit with my laptop most evenings and start writing stuff. We're trying to involve all the stuff health-wise, it's been a bit crazy, and I started doing stuff. I don't know how much you want to go into that, but with McMullan, and I did a thing about skin cancer and stuff that was going on during BGT. But if people are watching this and worried that the show's going to be about cancer, it's not. But I'm a comedian, and I think once you've been through something like that, you can find a way of dealing with it that helps other people. Because it isn't all doom and gloom, you know. And if you can, it's a British trait that we laugh in the face of adversity, I think. So there's going to be part of that in there as well. But it's going to be feel good because that's my sole purpose on this earth. You know, it's just I just want to make people laugh and make people feel good. That's literally it. And promote kindness. That's the whole concept of the whole show. So hopefully people will enjoy it. Yeah.
And if anybody wants to get tickets, I'm sure some have sold out, some haven't. Where can they get all the details from, Jon?
JonCourtenay.com. If you go to the tour tab, and you can click on where the tour's going. We are still trying to add some more dates. I'm getting a lot of stick from Scotland because we haven't got any Scottish dates at the moment. So it may be a whole separate Scottish tour. I don't know. We're definitely trying to do something. But when the tour company book this, obviously you want to try and do areas of, you know, you do the south, you do the southeast, you do the, and we got a couple of dates in Scotland, but they were clashing with dates in Portsmouth or Norwich or something. So we're really trying to get some dates sorted out in Scotland. But with COVID, everything went up in the air. You know, the theatres just shut their doors and said, we're not going to commit to anything. And obviously all the shows that were happening in 2020, they got moved over to 2021 as well. So hence my main tour doesn't start until sort of September time. Because the summer is full up of all the people that were meant to be touring in 2020. So it's a really weird time. So, but we are still trying to add dates. And I know there's parts of the country that I'm not sort of within 50 miles of, and we're doing our best to get as many dates in there as possible. Because I'll work every night if I can. I'm looking forward to it so much. I mean, you know what it's like. We've all missed that live performance. It's going to be so emotional. I mean, I'm gonna have to try and hold it together, you know, just that, certainly in June. I mean, when I do Blackpool, just walking out on that stage in front of a live audience, I'm going to,
I think it's more, are we going to remember what we do? Are we going to remember what we do? That's the thing. Are we going to step out and go, this is weird? Yeah,
I'm hoping it's going to come back. Yeah. Otherwise it's going to be a really awkward show.
Me too. A lot of refunds. Hateley Bordiak now, if there was a film to be made of the life story of you, who would you like to play you in it? And as your wife is watching, I'd also like to know, who would you get to play your wife? No pressure, pal.
Well, I want to get back into acting, so I'd play me, obviously.
Okay. I thought you were going to go like Jason Statham or something down.
Obviously, yeah. No. Well, when I was younger, I used to get, you look like one of the Mitchell brothers from EastEnders. And I used to hope,
head, that's it.
I used to hope that it was Grant, but it was always Phil. It was the short, fat one. So never mind. I don't know. I think Julia Roberts could play my wife. We were just watching Pretty Woman again the other day, and I didn't tell her at the time, but yeah, I can see a lot of similarities between my wife and Julia. Not because she was playing a prostitute.
I was going to say, please don't say the character. You're in enough trouble. She's already said you're sleeping in.
Well, it can't get any worse, can it?
Can we have our first live divorce here?
Yeah, no, I'm going to play me, but Julia Roberts is going to play my wife, because then I get to make out with Julia Roberts. Yeah, that's the plan.
Okay. Do you have a shovel in that studio as well? Because
I've just got a very way too tall.
Way too tall.
That's true. Yes, that would be a problem.
I also thought that your son's put me as a young you. There you go. Your son would play young you. That's brilliant. That's awesome. There you go, Hateley. Gillian Jailbraith now. Apart from singing and playing the piano and doing your thing, what's your other hobbies and interests? And what have you enjoyed doing during lockdown? Thanks for your question, Gillian.
Hi, Gillian. Well, I'm very lucky. My hobbies are my career, really. I mean, everything that I do work-wise is pretty much what I do as a hobby. If I'd sit and play piano, I'd write songs, I'd write jokes. But I like video editing. I haven't had as much time to do that as I like. When I was away touring before, I'd have a lot of home videos of the kids and stuff that I'd make these little videos of, and with music and all that sort of stuff. So I used to love doing that. I love reading. I mean, I love autobiographies, reading about my heroes are all dead. So the only way that I can sort of connect with them now, the Frank Sinatras and Sammy Davis Juniors and Mel Tormes, guys like that. So that's from reading. But even that, I don't sort of seem to have time. I have a little library in our downstairs toilet of just, books and on shelves. And I'll dip into those when I'm taking, 5 minutes private time. But yeah, I'm not reading, and I'm very lucky though. I mean, work for me is my hobby, really. So if I've got free time, that's normally what I'm doing. Yeah.
Yeah, because you're always at your piano. I've seen across social media, you've been doing, I believe, videos. People have been requesting videos, and you've been doing those as well, singing songs.
Oh, yeah.
How's that going?
Great. Yeah, I mean, it's been really interesting. Some of the charity stuff that I got involved in, which again is a whole new thing to me. I mean, if you can use this little platform that I've got, which was the idea with McMullan originally when we did. Yeah. I wrote the Mole song and sort of just tried to put something out there that would help people that people could relate to, because all of a sudden I had this voice which I'd never had before, So yeah, the charity stuff's great, and I love sort of thinking that can make a difference. And obviously when I won BGT, it was Christmas time, so there was all these Christmas parties, all these corporations and stuff, and all of a sudden I was the guy that wrote songs. So I wasn't just getting booked to do a show, I was getting booked to do a show and write a bespoke song for a company. But God, they were difficult. I mean, you'd get this page of information that was just corporate speak, that was just what the company was, when they were, what they did, what their objective, and it was all about integrity and development and honesty and customer service. Write us a song, and I had to try and write a comedy song about some of these companies that had nothing funny about them, and try and find an angle, which was hard. It was some of the hardest stuff I've done, but fun as well. It was a new challenge, as I say, BGT really, I didn't really think of myself as a songwriter, to be honest. I mean, I wrote parodies, and I wrote little ditties, and I wrote little funny bits. Yeah. But the thought of actually writing, a full-on song that was relatively new to me. And all of a sudden I was writing sort of 2 or 3 a week, for stuff that was kind of weird to write about. So,
There you go. Craig Johnstone now. I know you've worked on many cruise ships around the world. If you had to choose just one out of them all, what one was your favourite to work on, and why? Now, they do say what happens at sea stays at sea.
Yeah. So... Well, I wrote a book that I had to take off Amazon when BGT started, because I wrote a book called Shiphead. Head. That was all about my life at sea over the last sort of 25 years. And there's nothing in there, particularly bad about me, but there were stories and stuff. So it was recommended that I sort of, they're very aware of social media and the press getting hold of stuff. But I loved my time at sea, and I had a great career, traveling the world, taking my family with me. And I think I spent a lot of time for a few years on Crystal Cruises, which is an American cruise line. Yeah. And they're sort of 6-star. I mean, it is ridiculous levels of luxury and service and Michelin-starred food, and there's a Nobu restaurant on board that's all included, and you just go and eat as much sushi. It's incredible. And my first experience on there, I'd never experienced anything like it. You know, I'd certainly growing up, me and my family had never had enough money to have that sort of luxury. And all of a sudden I could take my mum and my dad with me. And I remember I took my mum on a cruise on Crystal in the early days. I hadn't been with them for long. I said, Mum, you've got to come on this because you can bring one guest for free, you know, and you have a share room and stuff. So I took my mum, and my dad was in the Navy for 30 years. So when my mum got home, she said to my dad, you have to go. Because I'd said to my dad, I want to take you on a cruise.
Yeah.
And my dad's response was, I spent 30 years on ships. I don't want to. I said, Dad, it's not a naval frigate. You're not going on an aircraft carrier. You're going on the world's leading luxury cruise line.
Yeah.
And, you know, so we had to persuade him. But I took him on there, and do you know what? It wasn't long after that he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And even when even in his foggiest days, we could talk about cruising. He used to dance with this beautiful blonde girl that was one of the dance instructors, and he was a smoothie, my dad. He was a charmer, you know, and he was in his late 70s at the time, and he'd get up and have a dance. And we could reminisce about that, even when he couldn't remember where he was, or, you know, things like that. He'd remember the experience that he had on that ship. And of course, everyone made a big fuss of him because I'd been on there for years and stuff. So yeah, my eldest son pretty much grew up on that cruise line. I mean, he did, I think he did about 20 cruises with them before he was like 5 years old.
Wow.
So he thought that was normal. I remember he started at primary school, and he used to say to his friends, you know, how many ships have you been on? I'm surprised he didn't get beaten up more, really. But so what a great education as well. I mean, even to this day, he's got a way that he can just speak to adults, to grown-ups, which a lot of kids haven't got, and that's because he grew up in that environment, you know, which is an incredible education, which you don't really get in the classroom, you know. So Crystal was a great experience in those days, being able to take my family and travel around the world in proper 6-star luxury. It was amazing. Yeah.
Sounds incredible. There you go, Craig. Francis Clark now. Are you looking forward to going on tour around the UK? And we are so excited to see live theatre return. We are all missing it so much. He wants to know, do you prefer doing stuff online or to a live audience? Now, of course, if you're doing it at home with your keyboard, you don't have to wear any pants. But obviously on stage,
there is that.
So
I won't zoom down right now.
Yeah, please don't.
No, it's live audience all the way. It has to be. I mean, I've been very lucky that I got this sort of set up quite quickly, and also that I don't think I'll ever get used to it. I mean, obviously this is on my phone now, but I've got a little I can show you.
Is this the MTV Cribs moment? Oh,
this
wow.
is so I've got a little auto cue thing up here, it's got some post-it notes on the front. And one of them says...
That defeats the whole object of having an auto cue, doesn't it, John?
No. I use... That's funny. No, I use the auto cue for stuff that if it's a new song or something I was doing. But my little post-it notes, one of them says, smile, the audience is there. Because I was doing some corporate shows where I can't fix my tripod now. Where literally you couldn't see anybody. It was just my face on the computer screen. You know, I've done shows on not just Zoom, I mean, the Microsoft Teams and WebEx and all this stuff that companies use. So yeah, doing a show, looking at yourself and not hearing or seeing anybody else, it's a very steep learning curve. You know, you've got to try and find that performance mode and get into it. And I don't think I'll ever get used to it, but it's something that I learned to do quite quickly. But again, it'll, you know, that the live audience and stuff is, there's no substitute for it. Even the virtual wall, I mean, you know, they spent hundreds of thousands on for BGT and Saturday Night Takeaway. It gives you an element of that. You know, you can see people, but there's an atmosphere in the room, which, you know, I don't think the public will ever be able to relate to. I mean, the public know there's nothing like going to a theatre, to a live theatre show and seeing something live. But as a performer, there's something, I don't want to sound arsey, but there is a magic that happens, especially with my show. I mean, there's a lot of spontaneity in my show. There's a lot of chatting to the audience and a lot of ad-libbing and getting feedback, immediate feedback. And on Zoom and stuff, there's a few seconds delay, and it's tough. There's nothing like a live theatre show. There's no substitution for it. So yeah, I can't wait to get back to it.
Because I guess when you're live as well, especially you, when you're constantly evolving your show and using your material, and obviously, even though you've got a show set up, there'll still be material that you put in there that you trial out. And I think you rely on the feedback of an audience. Their response is whether, does that joke stay or does it go, kind of thing.
Yeah. There's, I mean, the old trick of putting a new bit between two bits that work.
Yeah.
So if it dies a death, which you don't know some stuff until you try it out, which again was the scary thing about BGT. I hadn't really had the chance to try any of that out with a live audience. So that was a scary thing. And even my live shows, I used to love the fact that I could try new stuff out. Some of the best stuff that was in my live shows came from ad libs, came from stuff that and literally I got off stage and grabbed a bit of paper and went, I have to write that down. That's the funniest thing I've ever said. And it was just, and I understand, I'm not comparing myself to Billy Connolly, but Billy Connolly never wrote a joke down. All his stuff was literally just him sort of chatting. And then he'd go on stage the next night and he'd remember something that he said. So I'm, and Eddie Izzard's the same. He goes for walks with a dictaphone with his phone, whatever, and just chats into it and tries to find something. And I've had trouble sitting down and saying, I'm going to write something funny now. I'm going to write a joke or I'm going to write a routine. Yeah. I find it easier just to find that spontaneity and find which is why, some of the biggest laughs in my live shows would come from not jokes, but from stuff that people in the audience said or reacted to. Yeah. And then people would leave the theatre saying, he's the funniest guy we've ever seen. And I'm like, actually, some of those laughs were you. It wasn't even me. So that's going to be something to look forward to for the live shows. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think everyone's so excited to get back to stage. Now, obviously, we're here on Joseph concert. Richard King wants to know, hi, John. Hope you are good. Did you watch our Joseph concert? If so, what did you think? And he already said, I can't wait to come and watch your live shows. They've already booked their tickets. So, yeah, Joseph concert, we're here. We're raising money for acting for others. I know you knew a lot of the people that were performing. I know you made an appearance during Jenna Lee James's interview. So, what did you make of it?
It was brilliant. I mean, it's been so emotional watching anything like that during lockdown. It's like everything's even more heightened, because we're so starved of it. And the fact that I had friends involved that I could sort of watch as well and be so proud of. It's been a really weird time, obviously for so many reasons, but certainly from our point of view, talking about the theatre and live theatre and stuff. During when we filmed the finals of BGT, and we had Michael Ball there and Sir Cameron McIntosh and Matt Lucas, and they were doing the whole show stuff, the whole medley thing. I watched a rehearsal of that, just stood in the studio, and I was almost next to Sir Cameron McIntosh, which was very cool. I don't normally get starstruck with most people, but I would have loved to. I didn't get a chance to chat to him, but I've grown up with his shows, and what a legend. So I stood sort of just behind him watching the rehearsal, and I was just in bits. And I wouldn't normally have been that emotionally involved. I would have watched it and gone, oh, how amazing, Randall. Yeah. But it was just so emotional to see that. And it was, that was well into lockdown and theatres being shut. And I think it just intensified everything. And that's the same now with the Joseph concert, all that sort of stuff. It's very intense to watch that, which is why I'm a little bit worried about how it's going to be when I'm on the performing side and I'm not just going to be a blubbering wreck for just crying because I've got a live audience. It's going to be a really crap show. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, I'm so happy to be here. But like you're saying, I know obviously we did for Acting for Others and we're still raising for it. Details are available on our social media pages. But when you go see a show in the theatre, it's a show. You know that when that show finishes, you've got into it, you've gone through the emotional roller coaster like your audition, and then you come out and go, I love that show. That was brilliant. A lot of people saying about Joseph, it was so feel good. We got to dance along. But I think if anything, this has exposed, the real life behind the scenes. A lot of people have had no income. A lot of people haven't been able to support themselves. A lot of people, are so used to being on stage that when you take that spotlight away, it's so surreal. And if these are people that have grown up, it's been very difficult for them. And I think it's shown a different side of it, which I think will make people more willing and more want to go to theatre, I guess, when it reopens. The demand's going to be incredible.
I think, do you know what? I think when it comes to this business, none of us come into this thinking this will make us rich or this will make us famous. I mean, it's not even, that's all a byproduct of doing what we do and what we love to do. And I think it's the same with anything. You speak to any entrepreneur, any successful businessman, they always say, if you're doing it for the money, you're doing it for the wrong reason. You've got to do something because you're passionate about doing it.
Yeah.
And that's so true. And I think with theatre, that drug, I mean, this is all a cliche, but that drug of being on stage and having applause and doing what you do, and when that was suddenly cut off, the losing the money thing was a huge part of it, and people were losing their homes, but the fact that we couldn't do what we do, you couldn't, that lifeblood that some of us have been doing for 20, 30, 40 years, to suddenly take that away, was, even aside from the financial hit, so mentally, I mean, so many people suffering with mental health and stuff. That's what we do. That's what we've done our whole lives. Scary stuff. And I really think I hope that the public have seen, I mean, I don't know if there's an image that the public see of somebody being on stage. If you're in a West End show, then you've made it. What they don't realize is that most people in West End shows are struggling to get by on what they're getting paid to live and work in London, and go out and have a pint of beer that costs £8 or whatever it is. Yes, it's amazing to be in a West End show or Broadway or whatever it is. But we're all there because we love it. None of us are there because we're thinking that we're going to be rich and famous. We're just doing it because we love what we do. Hopefully the audience, the public, have been made more aware of that through things that you guys have been doing as well. It's amazing. Important.
Definitely. There you go, Richard. Joan Aitken now. Can I ask John, when he was growing up, did he always want to be an entertainer? And if he wasn't doing what he does, what other job could you see yourself doing?
Yes, I always wanted to be an entertainer. I wasn't sure what. I'm still not sure what.
We're just going through the motions.
I got into a youth theatre when I was a kid. I love acting. I love being part of a company, which I wasn't really as a one-man show. It can be quite a lonely life. But yeah, it was always, when I first made an audience laugh when I was 11 years old, as Willy Wonka in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory in a school production. And the elevator broke. We had a balsa wood elevator, and we had to pick it up from the inside and walk with it. And that's how we made it travel around the stage. And the line was, "This is no ordinary elevator. This is a magic elevator." And I had the top hat and the whole cane and everything. And as we picked it up, the whole elevator snapped in half. The balsa wood just snapped in half. Just as I said, "This is no ordinary elevator." And then it broke.
You weren't wrong.
And I said, "This is a broken elevator." And the audience roared with laughter. And that moment was, again, it sounds like a real sort of cliche, but I just went, whoa, the whole audience,
I like
barely laughing because of something I said. So I think that made me realize that that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to sort of try and create laughter. If I wasn't doing this, well, I suppose acting is the same thing. I love anything creative industry. I mean, I love writing. I'd love to be. I'd love to make a living as an author. I love woodwork. I love, making stuff in my shed and getting my hands on.
You're such a man of many talents, John. We'd never expect this.
Yeah, it's all, I don't know. I'll try and turn my hand to anything. And nowadays with YouTube, there's no excuse not to give it a go. You can literally just type into YouTube and somebody will teach you one-on-one how to do something. So if you want to do it, there's no excuse.
Yeah. There we go. There you go, Joan. Now, when you're talking about, obviously, when you were so young, you decided that's when I want to be an entertainer. You were saying earlier about your son being so indecisive about what he wants to do, when he grows up, even though he's, whatever age. Would you be one of those parents that thought, well, maybe this is the avenue for you? I can mold you.
No, no. I don't believe in that at all. We've had conversations. I mean, we need to start, Nathan, if you're still watching, we do need to talk about colleges.
Yes.
He's got his sort of his projected grade GCSEs come up. Nathan was homeschooled before lockdown started, so we were quite lucky in that he had all his coursework and everything at home anyway, ready to go. And we keep sort of saying to him, "What do you want to do?" And he grunts at me, and if he's even awake, I get a So I just hope, and this is, I've said it to him and I've said it to my wife. I just hope that he finds something that he loves doing, and then find a way to get paid to do it. I mean, it's as simple as that, isn't it, really? I've seen what the norm is, or I don't want to. So many people get stuck in jobs, and then all of a sudden they've got a mortgage and they've got a family and they've got commitments, so they have to keep doing that job, and it's too scary to do anything else or to take that leap of faith or to. And I get that is the way of the world. And I'm just hoping that Nathan gets a job that he's paid millions, so I haven't got to worry about working.
Can just retire.
Hard. No, I'll never retire. I always want to work. I mean, that's the great thing, you know. But yeah, be nice if I can just sort of pick and choose a little bit, and he can just keep me. So I'm not too sure what job that's going to be, but yeah.
Or choose the best care home for you.
Yeah. What's that thing about be nice to your kids, because one day they choose what home you're going to live in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Love you, Nathan.
Make it a good one. Make it a cruise. Peter Gallagher, my question for Jon is, what's Ant and Dec like backstage, and out of all the judges, who was your favourite?
Oh, I've been asked that so many times. Ant and Dec are lovely. I can't tell you anything bad about them. They are the sweetest people. I think the nicest thing about those guys is that from the audition, we'd never met before, and we met backstage. That little bit that you see on film when you're chatting backstage, I mean, that goes on for longer than you saw. That's the first time you see them, and they're very disarming. They're you very much feel, because you see them on telly so much. I mean, I've grown up watching them on telly since SMTV. So they're very much like, hey, Jon, how are you? All right. And you don't realize there's a camera with a long lens actually filming all of that. And that's when the interview starts. And you just feel like you're chatting to a couple of guys that you know, because you've seen them on telly so much. You know? And then when they came out and did the buzzer, there was a lovely bit when Ant backstage afterwards, we were doing the interview afterwards, and Ant had to stop me, and he said, Jon, I'm going to stop you because you're not making any sense. And he just stopped me talking, because apparently I was just going off on one. I was just blubbering because this had happened, you know. And none of that got broadcast, obviously, because I had no idea what I was saying.
Neither did they.
No, exactly. And then I saw them again at the Christmas show when we filmed that in December. And again, we just carried on. Hey, boys, how are you? Hey, Jon, chatting away. And then at the takeaway, obviously, we got to spend more time together in rehearsals and stuff. And it's like having a mate that you don't see that often, but you just carry on chatting. And it's, you know, and it's very much just laid back conversations about. Dec and I were talking about his daughter and stuff that was going on there, and he was asking about Nathan and my wife, and just a normal. And I haven't met that many. I've met celebrities over the years and stuff, but it's not very often that you get to have that much of a laid back conversation with them. It's normally just, hey, how are you? Love what you do, or whatever it is, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're lovely, and do you know what? They've been in this business for so long, and they've been at the top for so long. I don't think they've maintained that by being arses, by being, you know. I've seen firsthand how they treat the crew and how they are with everybody, and they're just nice. They're just lovely. Favorite judge? There's no favorite judge. I probably spoke to Amanda more than the others, I guess, and she chatted to
Amanda loved you, didn't she? I mean, you took her on a journey.
Yeah, apparently, yeah. I mean, she cries at everybody, so that was no big deal. But yeah, since that we've had conversations about stuff, and but they were all lovely. I mean, David at the BGT Christmas show was absolutely remarkable. I'd just come out of hospital the day before, and probably shouldn't have done the show. I wasn't right. I'd literally just had my first operation on my head, and it took a lot of takes for me to get what I was doing. And it was really late at night, and none of the judges knew. I didn't want anybody to know what was going on. And David just thought I was nervous, so he stood up and gave me this big pep talk in front of everybody, saying, "Come on, Jon, you've got this. You're brilliant. You can do this." And I just felt like saying, I'm okay. I'm not nervous. I'm just still drugged up being in hospital. They're all really lovely. Yeah. I think Ashley was just happy to be there. I mean, what a thing for him to go from contestant to Simon's chair. But yeah, they were all lovely. I'm not just being sycophantic. I'd love to be able to give you some inside gossip, but they're all really lovely.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, obviously everyone will want to know, are we okay now? Is Jon back, fixed to normal? Everything good?
Yeah, I'm on the healing side of it. I had a neck dissection, so I've got this side isn't good, which is good because when I'm at the piano, this is the good side. So this is all good. I've got stuff healing here, and I had a neck dissection operation there, which still gives me I'm still walking like a robot a little bit. I am not a robot. Little bit of maneuverability issue, and then I've got some immunotherapy for the next year, every 6 weeks and stuff, just to make sure there's nothing else going on. But yeah, it's certainly been a journey, and
It's been 18 months for you, hasn't it?
I feel like I'm on the other side of it, which is good.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, we send our best and a very, very speedy recovery for the rest of it for you.
Thank you, mate.
On to Suzanne Kapiski now. What's your favourite shows and musicals that you would love to go see once the theatres are back?
Anything. Anything.
Take me to a panto,
mediocre.
I don't care.
Yeah, just take me to a live show. I don't know. I mean, I haven't seen a bad show. I've got to be honest. I mean, but then I haven't really gone to see any off Broadway or off West End shows, really. If I've had the opportunity to go and see shows, it's been stuff that is established. So, I went to see Wicked, and I went to see what's the one with the puppets? That was so good. Avenue Q. I was going to Sesame Street. Avenue Q, which was great.
Same thing.
Yeah, same thing basically. Sesame Street for adults. So yeah, I went to see. I was in Pippin when I was 16 in a youth theatre production of Pippin, and I think because of that, I mean, it was such an amazing experience. Yeah, it's such a great show anyway, and the production was amazing. It was directed by a guy called Dick Tuckey, and the choreographer was, oh my God, I've just forgotten his name. That's really bad. Very established choreographer. You'd know who he is. Oh my God, that's really bad that I've forgotten his name. It might come to me. Anyway, and I happened to be in New York, and Pippin had opened on Broadway sort of that week or that month or something. So I got to go and see that, which was incredible. So yeah, I'll watch musical theatre all day long. I love it, and there's so much more that I still want to go and see. I don't know how people afford. I mean, it's so expensive, Broadway especially. I mean, God, it's expensive, but the West End as well. There isn't enough money to go and see every show that we all want to go and see. I'd go every night if I could to go and see.
Unless
stuff.
you sit next to the spotlight in the top, and then you might get an all right price.
Yes, if you know somebody, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Yeah, you might get in. Yeah.
I mean, would you ever? I mean, you are a man of many talents, especially when it comes to entertaining. And you spoke about doing theatre when you were younger and wanting to act in. Could you ever see yourself maybe in a musical? Would you ever find yourself, maybe you could be Fiyero in Wicked, or or you could be singing Master of the House in Les Mis? Would you ever fancy it?
Oh, I'd love it. I mean, the only thing is, I didn't start singing until I was well into my 20s, and even then, it was just because I'd done cocktail bar work for a long time, and I always played these great songs from the American Songbook, and Noel Coward, and these, and they had such great words, and they were such great stories that I just wanted to start singing them. So it was almost terrible, no range at all, an 8-note range, and I always used to sing the verses to the old songs. I used to make a point of, which Ella Fitzgerald used to do a lot of as well. A lot of the verses set up the choruses to these old songs. Things like Fly Me to the Moon. I mean, everybody knows Fly Me to the Moon, but until you hear the verse, which explains why this guy wrote this song, he's saying, I've written a poem, but to explain, to make you understand what it's about, I'll explain it as I go along. Yeah. Fly Me to the Moon. In other words, hold my hand. It makes the chorus make sense. So I started performing those songs, singing them, but I still don't really think of myself as a singer to the standard that you get your West End stars, and my range is still quite limited. But yes, something like Master of the House, I could probably nail. I mean, that's not. I
can see that.
Yeah, I wouldn't put myself out there as a lead in a musical because I don't think I've got that. I haven't got that voice, But who knows? But yeah, I don't want to write anything off because some of my happiest times were being part of productions, being part of musical productions, and it was such a great experience. I'd love to get back into that. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, we look forward to seeing that. Hopefully that's something in the future. Grace Holland now. It's not really a question, more of a statement. This lockdown has been a lot for so many people, and it's with thanks to people like John and live shows and Fab Entertainment that kept us going through this. Well done on winning, and so well deserved, and we will continue to support you. That's lovely, Grace.
That's lovely. Thank you, Grace.
It must just be great. 18 months ago, you were, on maybe auditioning for, BGT. And then now, sometimes maybe you're on a cruise line, you get people going, you were great, you were funny, you were amazing. But now when you're doing, social stuff like this, and you are the winner of BGT, whether you try to hide it or not, you are the winner of BGT. And then people are saying stuff like this, we're going through a global pandemic and you've been somebody's ray of light.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's the one thing that, it's weird talking about it because you don't want to sound trite and you don't want to sound like you're making sound bites and stuff. But when I was doing shows before, if you finished a show and people come up to you, especially on cruises, because, you know, you're in this sort of, you're a big fish in a small pond. You might do a show on the first day and then you've got a couple of days of just hanging around the ship before you fly home. So at dinner, people will come up to you and say they enjoyed your show. And I never got bored of that. I mean, who gets fed up with people telling you how much they enjoyed you, you know? And now I just feel like I'm on a really big cruise ship because I'm just, you know, I was in town yesterday and I had to nip into a shop and had to buy some face masks and so I had to go into the shop without a face mask to buy the face mask. So because it's been, you know, we've been walking around like this and sometimes I have a baseball cap as well. So really very little people stopping me in the street or whatever. And the girl behind the counter went crazy. She went, "I know you," and it hasn't happened that often. In fact, it happened today. I had to make an appointment with an accountancy thing, whatever, blah blah blah. And she said, this young girl, the secretary, she said, "Okay, if I can just take down your details, do you have a website that, you know, we can find out about your work?" I said, "It's in media." So I gave her the website, and all of a sudden she's screaming down the phone, going, "I love you! Yeah, I voted for you."
Can I have cheap rates, please? Then.
So it hasn't really happened as much as it would have happened in a normal environment, I suppose, of, you know, of being out there and doing stuff. But I said, right, when I won and they interviewed me and they said, "How does it feel?" And there's a clip there that they broadcast of me saying, you know, on my UK tour, "Please, if you come and see me on tour, I will stay after the show for as long as it takes to meet as many people as want to come and say hello, to say thank you and to meet you and to say hi." You know, I'm not jumping out the stage door and jumping in my car. The greatest thing about touring is that I'm actually going to get to see people in the flesh and say hi and have a chat, because it feels amazing that people do say that, you know, that I made them feel better or whatever it is. And the same thing with the McMullan little project that we did and the campaign and everything. It was amazing, the messages that I got on the back of that, of people just saying, you know, thank you. And you sort of feel like I'm not really doing anything. I'm writing a silly little song, or I'm telling or whatever it is. But you forget when you're reaching that wide an audience that, yes, 80% may just watch it and go, "That was all right," or "That was good," or some people may go, "Didn't like that." That's fine. But even if you only reach one or two people on a level that makes them, you know, changes some of the, you know, you don't know. People are suffering and people are feeling crap. So if you can help that, then of course you should, you know. And on a selfish level, God, it feels good. You know,
Love it.
It feels amazing.
Keep it up.
Of course
Keep
it
it
does.
up.
Yeah.
Go to the stage door. Go meet him. Get your praise.
Yeah.
Love it. Michael Johnston, now, what's your favourite theatre that you performed in, and what ones are you looking to perform in most on your tour? Now, obviously, we mentioned the Palladium earlier.
It's got to be
yeah. Besides the Palladium.
Well, I haven't done that many, really. I mean, I've done I've done a lot of sort of, you know, conference halls and hotels and things, and theatre wise, I mean, I haven't toured. You know, I haven't been anybody to tour. I've done a lot of theatres on ships and corporate gigs and stuff, but again, that's convention rooms and things. So yeah, I've googled a lot of the theatres that I'm performing in. We did some filming in one actually in I forget where it was now. The footage that we filmed for this semi-final. That's really bad. I should remember that as well. And it was a small theatre, really old and dusty because nobody had been there for, you know, at this point sort of 7, 8, 9 months, whatever. And I just stood on that stage and, you know, that empty theatre and just looked out at probably 400 or 500 seats. It really wasn't a big theatre. And it was just beautiful. I mean, you know, and sad because we didn't know then the light at the end of the tunnel or whatever. So yeah, I mean, I don't think I have I'm doing Leicester Square Theatre, which is going to be pretty freaking awesome. The fact that I'm going to be in the West End is right? That's a bit crazy. But yeah, give me an auditorium and a stage, and that will be my favourite.
Yeah, that's where you feel at home. I think your mum
really do.
Lowry in your hometown.
Yeah, I should probably give them a shout out. I've got the Lowry in November, and again, Opera House June and the Lowry. The Lowry got delayed because it was meant to be my first one back in February. It was going to be the Lowry, but I think we're doing the smaller theatre now because the Lowry wasn't going to be free again until 2022. So we've got the smaller theatre in the Lowry Theatre now, which is going to be great. So, any theatre will do. Just get me back out there.
Just there.
That's all we want to do, right?
Yeah, it's what we're programmed to do. I think I've been saying it's what we thrive and like a drug. Yeah. Barbara Valioid. Hi, John. Thank you for all your entertainment you gave us during lockdown. We loved watching you on TV and still watch your videos that are on social media, and we follow you on YouTube.
Thanks,
you're
Barbara.
so talented, and want to say a huge thank you for entertaining us and lifting all our spirits. Did you expect to be so popular even during a global pandemic?
Did I expect to be so popular? What's the answer to that? I mean, if the answer was yes, that would be really weird. Yes, of course I did. I knew I'd be popular. No, it's not something that it's not something that I really sort of think about. Again, it's a byproduct. If you create something which people like, then that's amazing, you know. But I don't think you should try and create something hoping that you're going to appeal to everybody, because that's not what we can do. You know, it's Charlie Chaplin. You're not going to please all the people all the time. That was Charlie's thing. So no, I think somebody did point out that I was the right place at the right time, which is what a lot of success in this business is about. You know, because of the pandemic, because I wrote a song about being optimistic during a pandemic, and it was emotional and musical and funny. People needed to laugh. People needed that outlet, that expression. Hey, you know, I'll take right place, right time. That's why. That's why 99% of people who you've heard of are in the position they're in, because they're in the right place at the right time. We all know people that are more talented than a lot of the people that are famous. Yeah. But the public will never have heard of them because they didn't get that break. They weren't in the right place at the right time. So, I'm quite happy to be where I am because of what I did and what happened. And that sounds really bad. No, I'm not happy because of what happened.
We know what you mean, John. Don't worry.
Oh, God.
Yeah, we get it.
I'll stop
talking.
I mean,
it's fine. Have another drink. But
I've run out.
Have you?
If my wife's still watching, can you get me a glass of wine, please?
I thought you had where's your wine rack?
Well, but they're all sealed with corks and things, so I need a bottle opener. So.
Do you need Emma to bring one in to you?
Yeah, we've got one open in the fridge if she wants to go and get me. She's probably not watching anymore. She gets bored watching me for this long. So it's all good.
Fair enough.
Oh, I've got to say hi to someone's mum. Hi, Susan. Steph Fletcher wants me to say hi. Hi, Susan. There you go. Hi, Susan.
There you go. Thank you. When we talk about BGT, it's a massive, massive, massive part of your life. But I guess you're the only person that's experienced it different to anybody else. You know, you are winner. What, number 12, 13?
17.
17. My counting's wrong.
Season 7, or 14. Season 17. One of those. Yeah, I can't remember.
Yeah, let's hit or miss.
It's a team somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah. But, you know, you're the only one that's experienced it in such a surreal way. So let's go back to anybody who's won it. Diversity, won, tour, Royal Variety Performance, went on to have a great career. And you've won it.
Oh, hang on. Let me just 1 sec. Stay there.
Here comes the wine opener.
The wine's coming.
Hi, Emma.
Oh, yay. Come and say hi, Em. Oh, come. She's had her hair done and everything. Come and say hi. There's not that many people watching. So I just pouring my wine now. You're not coming to say hello?
Hi.
There you go. In the background.
Got very well trained.
Good, isn't it?
I know.
Oh, there's Em's hand. Right, she's gone. Okay.
Hi, Emma.
She paid £150 to have her hair done yesterday, but she's got no makeup, so she won't come on the camera.
Oh, bless her.
It wasn't 150.
Thank you for the wine.
Yeah, thanks, Em. Okay.
But yeah, you know, so you won, you know, and most people would go on that journey, and then, you know, and then the Royal Variety Performance in the Palladium with, you know, the Royals there. But then, you know, and then the year after, another BGT, you go back to perform as last year's winner. Somebody else comes along, you know. So it's a completely different ride for you, isn't it? And do you ever look back and look at the other people that have won and gone, "Man, it's so different to me. I'd have preferred that than this"?
Nah, not really. I mean, you know, I think Emma was upset at one point when, I think mid-lockdown, I think maybe after the audition was broadcast, which was in April, even though we filmed it in January. Yeah. Lockdown happened in March. So by April, by the broadcast date, and then the semi-finals, and I was the judge's choice for that. And there was one point when Em sort of got upset, and she said, "It's so unfair that this is happening to you now." But we got over that really quickly, because we realized that, you know, so many of our friends are in these horrible positions where, you know, work is non-existent, and when it does come back, there's going to be 1,000 people looking at 100 jobs, if you like, you know, and everybody's going to be out there trying. So I said, yeah, in the big scheme of things, this is amazing that it's happened now. Really, that it's given me this opportunity when so many people are going to be struggling. So no, I try not to compare myself anyway. I mean, there's that whole thing. There's always people worse off and better off. So, there's no point saying what if and all that kind of business. You won't hear me complaining. The whole experience was incredible. And as tough as the other side of it has been, with friends and family and health and stuff like that. I mean, there were some horrible days where, I sort of said that I'd swap it all to go back to how it was. I think we've all been there. We've all had days where, but even at sort of the height of everything that was going on that was amazing, I was going through some crappy stuff with health and stuff. And there was times when I was just like, I would give it all back to not have the bad stuff. So it was a real sort of swings and roundabout, So no, I will never, no. It's been amazing.
You're even more unique, Jon, aren't you, because of the whole process in comparison to, I guess so. How other wins. And the longest winner of BGT, longest reigning winner, of course.
We'll stick with that. It's going to be on my business card. Yeah.
Keep using that. And finally, last question,
okay.
Jon, we'll let you get off and suck up to your wife, because obviously you've said some very questionable things about her tonight. Amanda Dawes, can I ask Jon, how did he get into the world of show business and entertainment? Where did it all start?
Blimey, there's no short answer to that.
So we figured that one out tonight, Jon.
I know. Sorry. I don't know. Always knew I wanted to do it. As I say, grew up watching my mum and dad. I was at a boarding school, so did A levels, and then mum and dad had moved to Cyprus, but I found them. So I went out to Cyprus after I finished A levels, just for a bit of a break. I mean, I was intending to go to drama school. I was going to do all that. And then I started getting work in the hotels, performing this comedy magic act when I was 18, which was a bit rough around the edges. I was 18 years old. I was still sort of learning my trade. But people were paying me relatively decent money to do something that I wanted to do. And then I got a job in another hotel playing cocktail piano in the lobby, like pre-dinner, and then after dinner I do my cabaret show. So I was loving life, really. Living in Cyprus, 18, single, all these girls on holiday. It was so that was really how it sort of started. So drama school I don't believe in regrets, but I would have loved to have gone to drama school. I would have loved to have pursued a career in acting and drama. But on the other hand, I was very lucky that I sort of started working in this business. And then I came back to England. I had my heart broken in Cyprus. So I came back to England, got a job in pubs, but performing over the bar, doing magic tricks and stuff and trying to make people laugh. And then, Warner's Hotels, really. I applied for a job at Warner's Hotels as a green coat, as they were then. And they said, you're a bit overqualified to be a green coat because you can play piano and you can sing and you can do comedy. So they employed me as the piano guy that did a show, and I did that for a few years. And it just leads on from there, really. You just sort of the cruises started, and I always sort of fell into a job, really. I was very lucky, I guess, in that regard. Didn't really audition for that much. I mean, most of the stuff I was doing, I just, ended up doing because of being in the right place at the right time, I guess. But then never got a break. I mean, I was quite happy doing what I was doing. When I met Emma, obviously we started a family. So the income was important. It's the same as any job, and I guess in my early 30s, late 20s, early 30s, it was a turning point for me because I realized that fame and richness was going to be a potential byproduct. In my head, you weren't successful in show business unless you were famous, or unless you were on television or whatever. So that you were sort of striving to get that break, to get the TV spot, to get the TV show, to get the whatever. Yeah. And then I don't remember. I think probably when Nathan was born, I just realized that if I could keep doing what I'm doing and earn a living doing what I'm doing, a comfortable, so we had a car that didn't break down. We had a house with a roof that didn't leak. We went on a holiday when we could afford it. that was success. You know, I was doing something that I loved to do, and I was all right with that. I was happy with that. And I would still be okay with that today. You know, it's just that all this craziness happened. And yeah.
So you talked about always falling into jobs. How did you fall to BGT? How did that come about?
It was a mate of mine called Jamie Allen, who's one of my closest friends. Jamie's an amazing magician, illusionist. He's called the Eye Magician. He's toured America, the UK, West End. Amazing guy, amazing performer. We've known each other since we were 18, 19 years old, I guess. From when I was doing magic, we knew of each other. And he came to see my show, and he hadn't seen my show in about 5 years. And he saw me perform, and after the show, we went for a beer, and he'd done BGT and America's Got Talent as well, and Britain's Got Talent, but it hadn't been broadcast, not because of anything that had gone wrong with him. There was whatever stuff goes on. Not everybody is broadcast, but he'd loved the experience, and he'd had a great time. And after my show, he said, "Why the hell haven't you done Britain's Got Talent?" And I said, "Because I don't know what I do." I said, I do comedy, I sing, I play piano. How do I do that in 3 minutes? And over this beer, he said, "Well, why don't you write a song about auditioning for Britain's Got Talent? Just write a song about doing Britain's Got Talent, make it here and now." And I sort of laughed and went, "Oh yeah, because that's easy." And it turns out I wrote the song that night. I started writing it, and the next day I phoned him and I said, have you got 10 minutes? Can we go and meet in this bar? They had a piano in the bar, and we met in the bar, and I played him a very rough version of that song. And he said, "Bloody hell, mate." He said, "You know, you've done it. You know, it's got pathos and comedy and blah, blah, blah." And obviously it got rewritten. But the basic idea was there. And we both knew one of the producers on the show. So I sent him an email, and because we'd all got these emails. I don't know if you probably know about this. Most of the acts, most professional acts get emails over the years that say, "I'm a producer of a TV show. Would you be interested?" And then we reply and say, "Is it Britain's Got Talent?" And they say, "Yes. Is that a problem?" And we say, "No, but I don't want Simon to diss me." And all of a sudden I'm on the cutting room floor or something. So I always had excuses not to do it anyway. So I sent it to this producer and said, "I've written a song. Is it something you'd be interested in?" And they really liked it. And they said, "Yeah." And that's how it happened. So yeah.
So the world has Jamie to thank for Jon Courtenay being the BGT winner.
I bought
your
Jamie,
talent, his encouragement.
I bought Jamie a very nice bottle of whiskey. Yeah.
Is he happy with that, or does he want a car and a house?
Not at all. We're still very close to this day, and we talk all the time. It's okay. Yeah, we're good mates. But I owe him a lot.
Thank you, Jamie.
Yeah, thanks, Jamie.
So the tour's coming up very, very soon. All the details at joncourtenay.com. What's next after the tour? What else is in the pipeline for Jon?
Blimey, do you know what? I mean, my manager talks to people all the time, and I get bits of, "Would you want to do this? Do you want to do that?" And I'm like, yes, no, yeah. I think until we get back to normal, until we get back to some sort of normalcy, then I'm not planning that far ahead. I've got some great gigs during the summer as well as the tour. I've got stuff happening in July and August. I'm doing a lot of Butlins resorts. If anybody wants a holiday at Butlins, I'd never done Butlins, and they got in touch after the win and said, "Could diversity do Butlins?" In my head, Butlins was still Nobby Knees competitions and Kiss a Granny and all Heidi High. I mean, the days of what. Again, you're probably too young for Heidi High, but I
remember it.
Yeah, Heidi High campers. I'd never holidayed at Butlins, So, and now it's this incredible event. They have these huge entertainment venues, and they pay a lot of money for big acts to appear there. As I say, Ashley Banjo and Diversity have been there, and Paul Zerdin is there this year as again AGT. So they approached me and said, "Would you be interested in doing some Butlins?" So that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm doing all three. I'm doing Bognor, Minehead, and Skegness. So I'm doing like this triangle of the entire British Isles. So that's July and August, and then the tour September, October, November. Little family holiday, and then who knows? Who knows what's happening next year? Yeah, there's all kinds of things in the works, but watch this space. I don't know.
There's definitely a bright future ahead. Maybe AGT, maybe over to America, Jon.
There's been talk about doing something. I don't think I'd go over there. I don't think as a winner you can go on, and I wouldn't go on as a contestant. That'd be weird because there are people that have gone on BGT as a contestant and then have gone on AGT as a contestant. But yeah, there's been mention of going over there and doing like a guest spot and stuff. I'd love to go to Vegas. I've never even been to Vegas. I've never even visited
amazing.
Vegas.
It's amazing.
I mean,
you could residency there.
That would be cool. Yeah. And my wife loves the sun, so she'd be happy in the desert. So yeah. Who knows what's going to happen? But it's exciting, and I'm happy to be where I am, really, and to have this again, cliche, but to have this little opportunity to sort of have this little platform.
Yeah,
to have a voice, to be able to sort of reach out and make a difference is a huge privilege. So I'm looking forward to the future.
Well, I think while you get your business cards printed with longest rating
champion, yeah.
When you're over
copyright
in Florida, yeah, you can have it. I'll give it 10% of all earnings. But when you're in Florida, get yourself an internal domestic flight over to Vegas and get them out there.
Yeah, I'll run that by my family that I'm taking with me. I'm just going to go over to Vegas for a few days while you.
I don't think Emma will complain. Leave the kids at the villa. You'll be fine.
You'll be fine. Yeah, look, that's a good plan. We're taking a lot of family with us. They could babysit the kids. Me and Em could do Vegas for a few days.
You can get an $80 flight across. I know a guy. We can sort it out.
Oh, I'm totally going to blame you for this. This is a great idea. Thanks, Adam.
Fine. You've dug yourself enough holes tonight. You don't. I'll still come off. Jon, before we go, obviously you are Mr. Music Man. You're Mr. Entertainer. Can we be cheeky and get you to maybe do anything for us tonight? Maybe a little blast of your audition song or your finale song or anything? Because you sat there. You've got your good side. You've got your piano.
Good side.
What can we do? I know I tweeted to get a song about me. That's not happened. We'll live. Go on.
I don't know what the sound's like. Are you all right?
It's fine. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we've got. I actually haven't got anything planned.
No pressure.
Okay, so let's stick with musicals, but musicals that most of people watching are probably not going to have heard of. So in 1929 or earlier, Irving Berlin wrote a musical called "I Love a Piano," which was a huge flop. The show was not a big success. But the title song, if you play piano, you have to learn to play the title song of the show. Otherwise, you're not allowed to play the piano. But again, it's
a rule.
It's basically it's the same as sing us the song. You're the piano man. You have to learn these songs if you play piano.
Yes.
So this is the title song from Irving Berlin's "I Love a Piano." As much as I can remember after 3 glasses of wine. Okay. As a child, I went wild when a band played. How I ran to the man when his hand swayed. Clarinets were my pets and a slide trombone. I thought it was simply divine. But today when they play, I could hiss them. Every bar is a jar to my system. But there's one musical instrument that I call mine. I love a piano. I love a piano. I love to hear somebody play on a piano, a grand piano. It simply carries me away. I know the fine way to treat a Stein, a Yamaha. I love to run my fingers on the keys, on the ivories. I'm with the pedal, I love to meddle, not only songs from old Broadway. I'm so excited if I'm invited to hear a piano genius play. So you can keep your fiddle, you can keep your bow. Give me a piano. I love to stop right beside an upright or a fine-tuned baby grand, a baby grand, oh baby, a fine-tuned baby grand, oh baby.
Jon, we are not worthy. That was brilliant. Thank you so much. If I had a golden buzzer, I'll be hammering it right now. Thank you so much. That was just phenomenal. Brilliant. Thank you so much. Jon, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you tonight. You are one of the nicest men in the industry. Thank you so much for your time tonight.
You just don't know me well enough.
Well, I've heard things, but I don't believe them.
Speak to my wife or my mother. Apparently, my wife wants to hook up with you now, so you can speak to her and she'll tell you the truth. So.
I'll see her in Florida.
All right, nice one.
Thank you so much. I wish you the best of luck for the rest of the... you're going to be around for years, buddy. You are an absolute amazing talent and such a great guy. And thank you for taking time out tonight. Go get some more wine down here. Enjoy the rest of your evening. We wish you the best.
Thank you.
And remember, if you haven't watched the Joseph concert yet, it is available on all our social medias. And just thank you so much for your questions. And of course, please keep donating to Acting for Others as well. For me and Jon, don't forget all his tour details on his website, JonCourtenay.com. Get on there and get him followed on social media as well. Keep up to date with all his latest goss and videos from his time on a cruise and everything else that he gets up to. Thank you so much, Jon, and thank you so much to you guys for watching as well. From me and from Jon, take care. All the best.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Bye.
See you later, Jon.
See you, Adam. Thanks, mate.